We listen, we don't judge, and other pressing matters. So there's a recent social media trend titled "We listen, we don't judge." Today's note is neither an attempt to dissect this trend nor an attempt to join it. However, I was reflecting on the idea around it, and I'd like to speak briefly about listening. A while ago, there was a bit of a strain between two friends of mine, so I called one of them to hear him out and understand what happened. This person is a mentee, and the conversation spanned over an hour. But by the time the call ended, I started to feel a little guilty. Why did I feel guilty? I felt guilty because even though I called to understand the situation, I realized that I did most of the talking, and I felt like I didn't listen as much as I should have. Perhaps in my head, I already had my own perspectives before the call, which made me not to pay as much attention as I should have to the things that he had to say. At the beginning of the call, I said, "I'll just let you speak and try not to interrupt you until you are done," which was a great gesture. But not too long after that, I started to say things like, "I understand your reasons for doing XYZ, but the way you went about it was not the best way." I said things like, "Well, when I was faced with this situation, this is how I went about it." I realized that during that conversation, there were times when he was saying something, and instead of letting him complete the statement, I felt like I already understood what he was saying halfway in, and then I found myself chipping in my thoughts and picking things up from there. I like to think I'm generally a good listener, but in this instance, I wasn't. Most people are guilty of this. We find it hard to really listen to people and pay attention without interrupting them or giving in to the urge of expressing our own opinions. Is it possible that all my predictions of where the conversation was going were right? Yes. Is it possible that all the advice I gave my friend was valid? Yes. Is it possible that my advice could have resolved or improved the situation? Also yes. But there's a different kind of possibility that I may not have explored in this case, and we often fail to explore. Is it possible that this person already knew everything I said even before I said them? Yes. Is it possible that this person did not need my advice? Yes. Is it possible that this person already knew they were wrong and didn't need me to remind them of it? Also, yes. Counsel is good, but you must be careful to strike a balance between listening and counseling. Know when someone needs your advice. Know when they need you to just listen. Know when they need space. And I have to add this, know when they need money. So when we say we listen, we don't judge, here are some things to consider. If someone does not ask for your advice, don't be too quick to give it. This is called unsolicited advice, and it can turn out good or bad. But the point is to be cautious about offering unsolicited advice, particularly if the person involved isn't very close to you. If someone does come to you for advice, in this case, your advice is solicited. It means that they value your opinion, and the things you say would likely be taken to heart. You should still be careful of what you say and how you say it, particularly with respect to the surrounding circumstances. For example, if they seek your counsel before making a decision, you should objectively share your thoughts and possibly share your own personal experiences. If perhaps, based on your experience, you think they're about to make a mistake, you need to understand that their experience will be different from yours. And so the fact that you failed at something, or the fact that you had a negative experience with a similar venture, does not automatically mean that their story will play out the same way. Share your experience, but try not to instill fear in them. Let it rather be an opportunity to point out some things that they need to look out for if they still decide to go through with their ideas. On the other hand, if they come to you after they already made the decision, it's a little more dicey now, especially if their decision is irreversible. Even if you think that they made a bad decision, the things you say to them at this point may make things worse, or make them self-sabotage and the situation escalate faster than it would ordinarily have. So as a friend, your duty at this point is to encourage them and offer some help where necessary, knowing that they are already too deep into the situation. Resist the temptation to say anything that would make them feel like they made a bad decision, even if you strongly believe that they did. In summary, here are a few important takeaways. Number 1, listening is an essential communication skill. It should be the easiest since it takes hardly any effort from you, but many people find it so hard to listen. One of the purest forms of love is attention. If you can pay attention to someone when they are speaking, and you listen to them without interrupting or judging them for their mistakes, you will have better relationships. Number 2, Sometimes, people just need someone to speak to. They just want to bare their minds and let go of their fear or guilt. As a true friend, you should help them feel safe sharing their challenges or worries with you and avoid reflecting it back to them or judging them for it. In many cases, you already know their wrongs, and the last thing that they need from you is to remind them. Number 3, sometimes people do need your counsel, but other times they don't. They don't want you to share your own personal experiences with them or project fears on them because your situation is not their situation. So as a friend, you must know when to share and when to just shut up and listen. Number 4, there are times when what your friend really needs is money. Yes, money isn't everything, I know. And yes, there are ideas that are worth more than money, I know. But when your friend needs money, most times you know deep down that it is money that can solve their problem. If you cannot give them money in this instance, it's understandable, but also resist the urge to give someone advice when what they really need is money, especially when that advice won't produce the money. It's annoying, and in most cases, your advice is useless to them. So when we say we listen and we don't judge, it's not just a random social media trend. It's a habit that we all need to cultivate. It's a habit that can transform our relationships. So I encourage you to practice it. To keep this episode short, we'll discuss the other pressing matters in our next episode. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss it when it drops. Also, I trust you'll be kind enough to share this with a friend. Until next time, keep being amazing. My name is Murphy Nnamdi Ochuba.